Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Irfan Fitri Benci Azmi, and I'm gonna explain about introduction and background of idea. In introduction, it will be an intro about 5 different type of material, which is metal, polymer, ceramic, composite, and advanced material. Advanced material is just as semiconductor. In background of idea, it will be about how we use Hooke's law experiment to differentiate 3 type of material, which is metal, polymer, and ceramic. So in this assignment, we will use same kind of spring but different type of load. So when we apply the load to the spring will be elongated with different type of length. So that length will be recorded in the table so that we can apply it in the formula. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Badam gang. So today I'm going to explain to you what apparatus been used on this experiment. We have 6 apparatus been used for this experiment, which is first we have a mesh 20 Newton, we have a clamp, a ruler, we have a spring material, we have a retort stand, and lastly table. For the spring, we have been choose 3 types of spring material. First, we use tungsten. Second, we use brass, and third, we use nylon. That's all for apparatus, and procedure will be explained by Adilka.
So hi, next I'm going to explain about our methodology and procedure for our experiment. So before we start, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Adilka Yunis Nedumaran, B0919102005, BMMP Section 1. So the experiment that we have chosen is the Hooke's law experiment. So let's start. This is spring made from brass. What happened when we pull it? We can talk about tensile force. When spring is in tension, it is being pulled, and when compression, it becomes shorter because of the compressive force. As I said, when pull is tension and compress is push. So let's set up. This is retort stand, boss and clamp, but we only use the end of the rod. Let's put our brass spring and measure the original length of it. Now we're gonna take this load that is 20 Newton and attach it to the spring. Then we can see the original length changes become longer. Without load is normal, with load become longer. Then now we should explain it in the graph. The upper line show spring made from tungsten that is more stiffer, and lower brass is spring brass. This experiment is repeated with tungsten spring and nylon spring. This Hooke's law explained that the extension is proportional to the force applied provided the limit of proportionality is not exceeded. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name Muhammad Hafiz Hakimi bin Muhammad Fuzi. Today I would like to present about discussion on observation. Firstly, the name of the experiment is Hooke's law. In planning an activity and work-related activities, a group discussion to achieve the best possible agreement has been made to ensure that the journey of the activity is running as planned and organized. We discussed the latest developments related to the reports and the progress of the planned experiment. As a matter of fact, whether or not someone is perfect, he will not run away from the mistakes and problem. The problem is a test to assess the extent of the patience and perseverance of a person in the face of the test. Similarly, while carrying out the experiment, there are some problems, not enough equipment, problem to find material chosen for spring and properties of material. Firstly, not enough equipments. Lab equipments allow students to interact directly with the data gathered. They get a first-hand learning experience by performing various experiments on their own. Students are made to use the models and understand different scientific theory and concept. During experiments, equipment and instrument is important to run tests and research. As solution, we do research and watch video on YouTube. Secondly, problem to find choosing material for spring. Material is a substance or mixture of substance that constitute an object. Materials can be pure or impure, living or non-living metals. Materials can be classified based on their physical and chemical properties. On their geological origin or biological function, material science is the study of material and their application. During the experiment, we discuss about material for spring. As solution, we take material based on character reference book and research. Thirdly, parallax error. The ruler used to make the measurements may not have been accurate. User error when reading the measurements from the rules, such as a parallax error by reading measurement from an angle or choosing the closest marker to represent the measurement. Inaccurates, forces be exerted over the material, such as the mass not being exactly as tight. The overall calibration of the apparatus being used to conduct the experiment may have been inaccurate. From the experiments, the result will obtain to the spring that made from the tungsten is the most stiffness among all spring, followed by brass and nylon. This is because the particle content in tungsten is packed, which make the tungsten spring to become the most hard. Meanwhile, the less stiff spring is the nylon spring, but it has the highest elasticity tolerance. The stiffer the object, the smaller the displacement it can be tolerated before the elastic limit is reached. If you distort an object beyond the elastic limit, you are likely to cause permanent distortion or break the object. The ideal spring has an equilibrium length. If a spring is compressed, then a force with magnitude proportional to the decrease in length from the equilibrium length is pushing each end away from the other. If a spring is stretched, then a force with magnitude proportional to the increase in length from the equilibrium length is the pulling each end toward the other.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aini Sofia binti Ghazari, and I will be presenting about discussion on classification of materials. Okay, first of all, based on the experiment given, we conclude that we have learned about the classification and properties of the material. We are also able to understand the concept and the properties of the material affect the experiment. And by choosing different material and element, we now understand which material is the stiffest, elastic, strong, durability, and etc. etc. From what we observe from the experiment, data and graph, we can say that the relationship between the applied force and the extension of the material depends basically on the properties of the materials and also the magnitude of the force. We also observe the behavior of materials that obey Hooke's law and the behavior of the material that doesn't. And finally, the relationship between Hooke's law and the changes that happen in the material. An ideal spring has an equilibrium length. If a spring is compressed, then a force with magnitude proportional to the decrease in length from the equilibrium length is pushing each end away from the other. If a spring is stretched, then a force with magnitude proportional to the increase in length from the equilibrium length is pulling each end towards the other. Finally, by doing this experiment, we were able to differentiate the classes of materials such as metal, polymer, and ceramic. We were also able to recognize materials made of a common household component. And then finally, the objective of this assignment is achieved. I think that's all from me and from us. Thank you very much.